We have been waiting for like 2 years. Rockstar announced this game, the expanded and enhanced, back in 2020. And this is all we got. The game comes out in 2 weeks. And this is all we got. But you know what? With that being said, today we're going to do something a little different. We're doing a Rockstar Logic comparison video. I don't know. We're just combining the two. Why not? Because as it turns out, this whole expanded and enhanced was one big Rockstar Logic all along. I mean, if you didn't check out the video yesterday, basically Rockstar are telling, I guess, like other journalists and stuff, that the game is actually no longer expanded and enhanced. It's just, they took that off. It's literally just the PS5 and the Xbox Series editions. So all the thoughts, all the dreams we had for like just an incredible version of Los Santos, they're all dead. But look, throwing that away, let's get into the comparison, because it is actually kind of interesting to see a comparison of the screenshots Rockstar gave us compared to actually PC on max settings. We're going to switch to my gameplay here in a second, and we're going to sort of compare a little bit. I also have some other screenshots, I think, from some PS4 people, so we can get an idea. I will say this, what we're seeing, is for sure an upgrade over the PS4 and more than likely the Xbox One. So if you're a console gamer, like, of course this is going to be good, but obviously PC gamers, there's not a whole lot. There is some differences, but there's not a whole lot. So, all right, this is the screenshot Rockstar gave us. One of the big screenshots Rockstar gave us on their newswire 2 days ago, showcasing the the PS5 edition. I'm assuming that's what these are taking on, the PS5, because Rockstar and Sony usually have a partnership with each other. But there's a couple of things I wanted to point out in this particular screenshot before we hop into the PC. Number one, actually, one of the more notable things is, let's try and zoom in here. This is the new casino. So that's actually kind of a big deal if this screenshot is from story mode, because that would mean the old casino that we always had in story mode is now changed to the new one. Maybe that's a quality of life change. Maybe in single player, you can actually go into the casino and gamble and do a bunch of the fun stuff you can do in GTA Online. That is one of the bigger things I've seen people talk about with this particular screenshot. And it is hard to tell if this is in single player or not. I mean, when we actually look around the image, one thing to note, there is literally nothing going on. There's no people. There's no cars. If we go over here to the right, on any of these streets, there's nothing. Rockstar used the mod menu and turned off all NPCs. I don't know what that means, but it was maybe an interesting thing I wanted to point out. So that's two things. We have new casino and no people. A couple of other things. The LOD, the LOD, I don't know what the hell it stands for. The distance. This is where the downside of the consoles come into play. And I'll try to do my best to showcase this. Obviously, now, like, it's not something you're going to be noticing a lot, especially if you're just driving around, because you don't really see this far. This is only really, I guess, applicable if you're flying around or, you know, in a helicopter plane, Oppressor Mark II or something. But you can definitely see these textures on these buildings, even kind of on the mountain here. They're not that great. They definitely are a little low. One thing actually that's, I think, a big point, this particular mountain, it's pretty different, at least to my eyes, when I go to PC. So the further away textures, I think, are definitely lower than the PC, as we'll find out. And then the final thing, more closely, the new grass. And this is actually the one thing that to many people seem to be, this is a sort of new, like this isn't on PC, like this grass density maybe, or the color. I'm not entirely sure exactly what they've done here, but the grass is definitely higher density on the PS5 here, even especially over here on the right. It's a lot more green. So, all right, that's the screenshot. Let's hop to the PC. All right, so now that we're on the PC, it's hard to really get an exact like view, I guess, of that screenshot. But let's just look, we're in a similar position here. Right off the bat, a couple of things. The grass, I guess let's just start with that. I'm on PC, I'm in 2K resolution, so not 4K, but that doesn't really matter too much. I have every setting turned up. I have grass as high as it can go. And you can see, and I'll try and zoom in here, some of the similar parts. The grass on these closer mountains definitely is lacking compared to that screenshot. Or it's different. I don't know if it's lacking, but it definitely is different. It doesn't stand out as much here on the PC version of the game, which is something, I don't know if that's like an intentional decision from Rockstar. Some people are liking the screenshot we saw. Some people are also not liking it and liking what we have here, where it's just sort of blended in a little bit nicer. Let's talk about some other things though. Again, the further away textures, you can see, I'll zoom in here. A lot of these buildings, I personally think they look better here on PC than what they did on, or in that screenshot on the PS5. So this is maybe where the PC version might end up being slightly better for some of those further away textures. Also, that mountain, like I mentioned, look at this on PC. I'm running no mods. This is like everything's vanilla, everything's normal. The mountain on PC here, in my opinion, looks way more detailed. Actually, matter of fact, I'll go ahead and switch it back just so you can get an idea. So here is that mountain. It just looks super like flat and smooth over. Let's go back to the PC and you can see there's a lot more texture there, a lot more detail. So that could be something to look out for, you know, especially like, let's say if we go all the way over there to Mount Chiliad, maybe Mount Chiliad looks completely different on this new edition of the game. That's not something we can test though until obviously the game comes out, because right now we only have that one screenshot. But let's take a look at some other things. Again, here on the PC, I mean, again, the casino is different. So obviously that's how it looks now. It's how it looked for the last 8 years. Maybe they're going to be changing that. I mean, that would be a cool quality of life thing. And also actually over here on the right, the bottom right, you can see another comparison. It definitely looks a lot different than compared to that screenshot. So this area on the screenshot here, you can see by the road, it's a lot more shaded, a lot darker actually. It definitely looks a lot different. And that could be the new lighting, I'm sure. Because right now there's almost like no shadow. I mean, there's the shadows of the trees, but the grass and stuff, I mean, it's really hard to even see it from this distance. So there are some differences for sure. Some better things maybe, and some worse things. And I think that's basically the story of this new edition of the game. It's definitely going to be an upgrade from the PS4 and the Xbox One. But from PC, there's going to be some things that look better and some things that don't look better. And that's just the nature of this. There's a couple of other spots though, because they did give some other screenshots in that little newswire. So let's go ahead and hop to those. All right, so for the next image, we have this particular one at nighttime. And I will say, I think Rockstar intentionally brightened this because when we're going to hop in game, my game's a lot darker and I even bumped up the brightness. So this is one of those things, I don't think it's actually, the game's actually going to really look like this. I think it's going to be darker more than likely. But with that being said, a couple of things in this particular screenshot, actually this tree, just wanted to keep this tree in mind. I believe it's actually different compared to the one we have in the game at the moment. Also, again, I wanted to point out the further away textures, and this one's actually not even that far away. Like if we zoom in here to the far left to this little church, I guess, you can see it looks a little wonky. It's not something that's like a game breaker or anything. It's not even something you're probably going to really recognize unless you're like super zoned in trying to find stuff. But it is like, especially the little windows here, it doesn't look like the greatest. Now, one of the things Rockstar keep mentioning is this ray tracing, as if that's like some crazy word. But here's the thing, right? Some of these things don't even have shadows. And from my limited knowledge on what I know ray tracing looks great in certain games. But from my limited knowledge, ray tracing also decides to add, or it adds shadows because it's sort of a more realistic lighting. But like none of these things have shadows. So I don't really know where this ray tracing is. Like, there's no shadows on this tree down here. There's no shadows on any of these light poles or any of these signs. I mean, there's a couple of shadows like on the cars, sure, but there's not really any shadows anywhere else, which is, I thought, the whole point of ray tracing. So again, I don't think they keep mentioning those words, but I don't think they're using them in the right way, or like they're just trying to mislead people basically, because I mean, none of this stuff looks really that great at night. I mean, there are some nicer reflections potentially in the road. You can see some lights and stuff, but I don't know. Maybe this is just a mistake. Like, I don't even think these NPCs have shadows. So again, I don't really know what's happening here. But look, this is the screenshot. Let's go ahead and hop into the game, and you can see. So here we are in the game, and again, much darker. Maybe that's because there was a lot more traffic and stuff in the game. But look, this tree is a lot different. This tree is much taller, I guess. So that's something that they actually are going to be changing a few things on, trees and foliage and stuff. As far as everything else, again, PC here. So I'm going to zoom in on the church, and you can see it looks, in my opinion, a lot better than that PS5 edition. Also here, much like that screenshot, there's no shadows on the NPCs, on the trees, the light poles and stuff. So it doesn't look like there's much of a change there. But yeah, I mean, it's not the greatest comparison. There's not a whole lot to really see. I just think it was an interesting to point out with the lack of shadows more importantly than anything else, just because like Rockstar keep mentioning the ray tracing, but we're not really seeing a good example of it. The next screenshot is, we're going to start in game here for it, because there's just really one thing that might be changed. And maybe this is where that ray tracing comes in. I'm not entirely sure. But the screenshot's actually of this build. This is the Los Santos car meet building. And, well, if my guy stops throwing grenades. So anyway, at the LS car meet, pay attention to what we're seeing in the windows. There's not really, it doesn't look like there's much of a reflection. There's just like a light color there, but there's not really much of a reflection. And if we go to the screenshot that Rockstar just showed, well, in this screenshot, there definitely looks to be much more of a reflection in the windows. I don't know. It is hard to tell because it is very blurry. There's not much of the windows to see, but maybe that's one of the new features that we're going to be getting. Some more reflections in windows and stuff, more like actual reflections. That would be kind of cool. And actually, another thing with this particular picture, this, I think people are saying it's showing the new chameleon paint job. And the reason we can tell that is because obviously there's a livery, covers basically the entire car. But up here in the front, you can see there's this rainbow pattern. And I think that's the actual paint job that's underneath this livery. And you can kind of see hints of it, at least back here. Like you can see some of that rainbow coloredness basically in the light. So like kind of maybe a little bit up here, you can see a little bit of it. But yeah, you can see it for sure up here in the front and for sure back here in the back. So that's what it looks like it's going to be. I mean, obviously it is harder to tell because the majority of this car is covered in a livery, but this does confirm that that chameleon paint job, of course, is coming to the game. And then the final two pictures that they've given us, this is one of them. And you can see, I mean, yeah, sure, it looks great. They did say, I guess, maybe these are some new explosion effects. I mean, it looks the same to me. But as far as, you know, ray tracing and reflections and all that goes, well, look at here. This car doesn't even have anything reflected on this wet ground. So if you were expecting, like, if you read the newswire and were like, oh, ray tracing, oh, Cyberpunk has that, I don't know, other games have that, and it looks great, don't even expect anywhere near those, you know, levels of ray tracing. This, I mean, this would be a perfect example of using it, and it's not here. So again, I'm not entirely sure where it is, but there's no reflection here on this car, and you know, that is probably a little disappointing. And then the final screenshot. This is a screenshot that showcases the fact that Rockstar might be changing some little parts of the world. So in the back, you can see, you know, there's the bush, some little, maybe smaller bushes, a little tree here, some other trees. But that's not actually how it looks in the game. So here we have a picture of basically that same spot in game. And you can see on the right side, there's actually this giant bush-like tree, which wasn't there in that PS5 screenshot. And apparently what happened was they just took this tree and removed it. Because you can see this is that tree from the PS5 screenshot, but it doesn't have this bigger looking bush tree. So another, I guess, indication Rockstar are going to be changing some of the world. And we don't know how much, but, you know, this is an indication that there's going to be some other little changes that we'll probably have to go through to figure out, you know, what exactly is different. And then the final thing I wanted to showcase was sort of what the PS5 version is going to look like compared to, I guess, the PS4 we have now. Obviously, this is going to be the much more applicable comparison because a lot of people are going to be going from PS4 to PS5 and Xbox One to, you know, the Series X. So there definitely is a big upgrade. Things look a lot sharper comparatively, but what we're seeing, of course, is the screenshot Rockstar gave of the PS5. And if we just play this, so if I can pause it at the right moment, here we go. Here is the PS4. And I'm not gonna lie, I haven't played too much on the PS4. I do know I hate playing on the PS4 because like the frame rate is terrible and things definitely look a lot blurrier comparatively to PC. But this is a massive change. So this is the PS4, but for sure things look better in that PS5 edition. I mean, you can just see a lot sharper. The distance is a lot clearer, despite some of these buildings, you know, not having the best, you know, looks a lot clearer compared to that PS4 image right here. I mean, everything's just a blur, it looks like to me. So I guess that is for sure good news. But of course, I guess the issue with all of this is that Rockstar thought, or they led us to believe this was going to be a much bigger upgrade, expanded and enhanced. That's what they've been using for the last 2 years. Like, we were all hoping for it to almost look like Red Dead Redemption 2. Like, that would have been insane if they could have just remade this all looking like Red Dead Redemption 2. But I guess that would have been much harder to do. And actually, the final thing, so this, what I was talking about at the beginning with how some people are liking the new look versus the old look. So this is the new look of the grass. You can see it doesn't really blend, like it stands out more, but it doesn't really blend into the environment, which is not the case now. Like now you can see this is what it is. The grass, obviously terrible resolution pictures zoomed in, but the grass does blend in. Like this looks more natural to some people versus this. So that's going to be something, of course, I guess you either like it or you don't like it. But that is going to wrap it up for the comparison video. One final look. So this is the PS4, which many people are playing on now. This right here is PC with full settings all the way up. And then this is what we're going to be getting, the PS5. So there you have it. Like I said, this was kind of I mean, for the most part, this is all a Rockstar logic. Let's just be honest. The fact that we're 2 weeks away and we still don't have a trailer, we still don't really have actual screenshots. We just have like one or two here or there that are like okay for comparison. We don't know if anything new is coming, if like a new update's coming, a new DLC. It's kind of a mess. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Are you still excited for this new edition of the game? Or are you just going to be getting it because you just want to upgrade from the PS4 to the PS5? I'd be curious to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. But anyway, that's going to do it for the video. Thank you guys for watching. Please drop a like if you did enjoy. Subscribe for more GTA content. And as always, I'll see you all in the next one.